All right. Now, so these will be on the YouTube page. Todd has said that we can do that and just give those that want a copy of it to watch the opportunity to go and look at it, but we're not publicly giving it. So there's a if we are able to give the link to the video where you can watch it privately, or others can watch it privately, but it won't be on our page. You won't find it unless we give you the link. Does that make sense? So if you want the link, let me know. I can take your name down or email and get you that link. I don't know if he's put it on the first one on yet. But today, we are in O Sacred Head Now Wounded. Why did I pick this hymn? It's just I was flipping through and I just made the order that way. Normally you would find this in what week? Remember how to look at your hymnal?
Holy Week.
All right, Holy Week. And the reason, and this is just a preference of mine, it's just so somber of a tune. And we'll hear why here in a little bit. All right, so as of review, how to use the hymnal. Again, this is 450. Why is it 450? Because they go forward from 1 onward, right? Going through the book. That's just how it worked out this time and how they designed it. We see the title, O Sacred Head Now Wounded. We've already discussed what week we typically find it, and that is Holy Week. So at the bottom, who is it written by? Sorry? Well, the text is written by, first, the arrangement, Bernard of Clairvaux, then Paul Gerhardt took it on, the tune written by Hans, Leo Hassler. Kind of neat, I had some Hasslers in my church. I don't know if they were related, but I would guess that they were to him. Close friends from the same area of Germany of which my family was from, so that's why they were friends with my grandmother. Many of them spoke German growing up with that. Then off to the side, would you be able to say that? All right. I don't speak German. I just have never been able to learn it.
That speak means
From my heart.
And Verlangen is a real desire.
A real desire, okay. So nice. So last week we saw numbers down there, right? And there's numbers this week as well, 76, 76D. So let's go in the back of the hymnal once again, just trying to get you familiar with this. Quite honestly, sometimes if you're bored with my sermon, I don't recommend this during pastor's sermons. But I give you permission, you're bored, look at the different hymns and discover. At least you're doing something. If you're not hearing, what we're saying, you're kind of turned off by something. In all honesty, look at the hymns, look at the bottom, the 76, 76D. Look at how many different tunes can go to this.
Oh, we don't have a hymn book.
To these words. Kind of neat, huh? So, just trying to show you how to use the hymnal once again. All right, so we talked about the beginning. First, we'll look at Bernard of Clairvaux. Okay, does anybody know Saint Bernard of Clairvaux? What a name, right? Anyone? He was in a monastery, yes. He was an abbot. Have any of you ever heard of wars, religious wars that may have happened at that time? Maybe in the Middle East. What were they called? Crusades. St. Bernard of Clairvaux was somebody that pushed some of the religious fighting in those areas. He was also somebody to whom Luther quite enjoyed in his studies as a monk. So, Bernard of Clairvaux, he lived, birth date, 1090. 1090. And his death was 1153. 63 years old. As they would say jokingly, he was alive when the Dead Sea was just sick. This is attributed to him in 2006. So this is the, if you look at the front of the hymnal inside the cover, we see that the copyright is 2006 from Concordia Publishing House. Okay. Well, yes, but this particular hymnal in 2006 was the one that was published. What else happened in 2006? Something amazing.
I had a grandson born.
I moved here. Should all know that, right? Sure. Liam was born.
I was going to say, I think I knew I was
Yeah.
going to have a grandson.
So you see this, that he is attributed to this in 2006. Here is the problem. He didn't write it. So it's a mistake. According to another thing, which, again, some of you have asked, and I mentioned, this is a Lutheran Service book, Companion to the Hymns, written in 2019. So I'm going to read a little snippet from this because it shows that there is modern scholarship, one. What does that mean? Modern scholarship. Updated. Right? So they're studying it now and they're finding new things. This is like if, it's happened in the church. For example, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, right? Many years ago. What, in the 50s? 49? Okay, so when they were found, it was a big deal, right? It was a big deal because of many reasons. It was modern archaeology, and those particular scrolls validated what we see in the Old Testament and some other things in history. And as they find things in archaeology, sometimes we look at what we've believed in history and we say, oh, well, maybe that wasn't right. Maybe we got it wrong. And sometimes we are proven wrong. Thankfully, in the case of the Bible, we keep finding things that validate it so well, extra biblically and biblically. Here, for several centuries, Bernard was regarded as the author because of many scripts beginning in the 15th century. In the 15th century, attribute the hymn cycle to him. So many people attributed it to him. But in 1853, which is well before 2006, the Catholic hymn scholar F.J. Monet expressed doubts concerning this attribution. He noted that no manuscripts close to Bernard's lifetime survived that contained the hymn. The first known attribution to Bernard dates from several centuries after his death, and the hymn has been transmitted in a large number of widely differing versions, not something usually found with an authentic text by a famous author such as Bernard. Then in 1909, still well before 2006, a book by Guido Maria Dreves and Clemens Blume included a transcription from the text previously unknown from a manuscript in 1320, making it the earliest known solidly datable source of the hymn. In this manuscript, the hymn is described as Oratio quam facit Dominus Arnuphilus de Lavenio Quintus Decimus Abbas Villerinensis, which means a prayer produced by Arnulf of Louvain, 15th abbot of Villers. So the discovery of this manuscript, produced only 70 years after Arnulf's death, has led to a general acceptance of his authorship of this hymn. Well documented, and now most people attribute it to Arnulf of Louvain and not Bernard of Clairvaux. I mention that in case you're on Jeopardy and you're asked this question. But here's the deal. For me, I was researching the hymn, right, before Mrs. Ketcher told me about this book. And so I did a long research on Bernard of Clairvaux. Then I had to pivot because now it's not by him completely. There are, as it goes, Arnulf had read some of the things of Bernard of Clairvaux and then written this. So quite confusing for anybody. Now, when a Lutheran musician, so somebody that studies the music in the church, such as a Carol Ketcher, Deaconess Ketcher, they have to study these things. And so some of these things are second nature to them. So before we dive any farther into Arnulf, have any of you ever sung this hymn?
Oh, yeah.
Is this a hymn that you like? No. Why?
Kind of a downer.
Why? Well, let me play the tune for you, and we'll go back to that. All right? Now watch the words. Okay? Watch the words. And I'm going to play the tune. Didn't sound right, did it? But you saw the words work. Yeah. So, if playing "O Savior, Precious Savior" to those words, it just doesn't fit, does it? Why? It's too joyful. Exactly. It's so different. It takes the meaning out of it.
I would just like to say the same thing. When you're choosing an alternate tune, you best hum it first with the words or have somebody play it for you, because this also fits perfectly to the Yellow Rose of Texas.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want these words to offend people.
And nobody wants to sing about Texas. Dallas is not America's team. Sorry. I am. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, it changes the outlook of the tune. Now I'll play just a little bit of "O Sacred and Thou Wounded," and you'll see why. Some of you know music, so you were able to pick that up pretty quickly. And some of you know the other tune very well, too. Coming back to that E, just that, right? Just a pull back. It always brings me chills because it is so just right on for the mood. And it's Sunday. We don't want to be sad, right? But we need to reflect on what exactly they, and this is meaning Bernard of Clairvaux and Arnulf Louvain, what would they have been focused upon as abbots, as monks? They didn't have all this stuff. Pastor and I were talking about this. They didn't have all these things to be distracted by today. We have the sense of we should be busy. I was brought up in a house where if you had your hands in your pockets, that meant that you were lazy. You needed something to do. Yet idle hands are the devil's play, right? So you got to be careful there. You have distractions with phones these days, TVs. How many of you were focused upon the news a little too much this week? Yeah. A lot going on in our world, certainly. A lot of negative things, but a lot of positive things too. We're distracted. At their time, they had work. They were really trying to make a living, survive. But they didn't have all those other distractions, so they had opportunity to focus on scriptures, focus on writing, focus on the daily lives that they had. But abbots and monks in particular, what would they spend a lot of time meditating upon? Prayer. Okay. What else? Well, think about the hymn. Think about the hymn in the background. The Passion of Christ. And what he did for us. Daily. Thinking about that. How many of us daily think about what Christ has done for us? Not everybody does. Not everybody wakes up and says, "Thank you, God, for another day." Not everybody lays down at night and says a prayer. Not everybody feels thankful. There are days when it's rough and you're more angry at God than you are thankful. Those are common and normal emotions for people that live in a world of sin. As did Bernard of Clairvaux, as did Arnulf of Louvain. Now, the nice thing is that there is another book here. It's a 2-volume set. So if I were to look up Arnulf of Louvain, there's not much on him. It's not like Bernard of Clairvaux. We're talking this amount. In fact, this modern scholarship does not even include Bernard of Clairvaux in this book. So these are all the authors. And I believe there's 2 or 3 hymns. Actually, there's 2 hymns attributed to Bernard of Clairvaux in the 2006 Lutheran Service book. But he's not included as an author in this at all. So let me a little bit about Arnulf of Louvain, and then we'll get to Paul Gerhardt because he is super important. Okay, Arnulf was born in Louvain sometime around the turn of the 13th century. He also served as an abbot from 1240 to 1248 in the house of Clairvaux. So during his years as an abbot, he stood in opposition to a program in the university studies that suggested some different combat and things like that. As you know, the Crusades were going on. He worked with people in Paris and focused upon simplicity, humility, and a life of manual labor. Arnulf eventually abdicated his position in favor of this pursuit of life to more of an asceticism and died shortly after. The same values which can be reduced to struggles of physical are also present in his poetry. The poem Salve Munde Salutaire, for a long time attributed to Bernard of Clairvaux, is now generally described to him. The final section of this poem, beginning Salve Caput Cruentatem, form the basis of Paul Gerhardt's hymn, O Hauptwahlblut, you can Bund Wuden. So, some interesting stuff there. Again, more if you're diving in deeply, but we have to remember, and we don't probably do this enough, to praise our hymn writers, even our modern day ones. How many of you write poetry? Yeah? Okay. It's okay to write poetry. That's essentially what they're doing, but in meditation on God and reflecting that and trying to put music to it as best as they're able. Do we have any hymn writers or songwriters in our church? Do you know of any? Stephen Starkey. We're going to listen. We're going to hear him possibly next week. If we don't, it depends on the breakfast thing. But he is the next hymn writer that we'll study. But I mean this very church, Trinity. There's one that's going to sing later here at 10:45, and he doesn't do it very often. He probably, I don't know if he's done it in front of people, but Ryan Johnson, when his son died, wrote a beautiful song, wonderful song, in honor of him. So we have people that write and make their own songs. We don't praise them enough, Ryan or others. So anybody know Paul Gerhardt? Obviously not know him, but know of him. Anyone? Yes, Trouty? You grew up with him. Well, not literally, right?
There is.
Yeah. So let's go to the back of the hymnal again. Let's look up Gerhardt in the author section.
'69 years old.
Yeah. How many tunes are attributed to him? Or songs? All right, so Gerhardt, he'd be author of authors, right? Author index. 999. And I'll save you the trouble. He has, 17 hymns attributed to him in this. But he's written many, many more.
And there are more in the German hymnal.
Yes, there are more in the German hymnal, for those that can read German. And there are some here in the congregation. When is he living? He's living, he was born in Saxony. Why is that important? Anybody know why Saxony, at least in our church body, would be important? The Reformation. Yes. It begins in Saxon, right? And also, during what was called the Prussian Union, many years later, there were immigrants from Saxony that came up the Mississippi River, landed in Perry County, and began in 1847 the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. So the ancestors of this very church body are from Saxony, which is pretty cool. Which sometimes, aside from here, is hard when people say, especially in this world of hate and division, harping on people that are Anglo-Saxon now, calling them racist, things like that. We can't help where we're from. It's who we are. And it's part of our church body. In fact, during World War I and II, there was a strong effort which caused divisions in the church to rid out the German language, so that they wouldn't be associated so much with the wars going on. And that was a struggle for some of our ancestors in the church. One in particular case that I learned about is in Pittsburgh. in a little town called Aspinwall, along the river, just outside of Pittsburgh. That you could say they're from Pittsburgh because it's right there. It's where the Hines family used to attend. They left the church over this very thing of changing the languages, and so through our time, we've struggled with even from where we've come. But that's just again another thing.
Is that related to Pastor Hines in Lowell?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I have asked him, but I don't believe so. So Paul Gerhardt, living in 1607, what is going on during his time? Does anybody know?
30 Years' War.
The 30 Years' War. Can you tell us more about the 30 Years' War, Pastor?
Well, it was basically between Lutherans and Catholics over most of Germany, and it was a terrible time for most of the people because either the armies of the north, led by the Swedish king, who was Lutheran, or the armies from the south would be ravaging it was a terrible time where loads of people died.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
So, to give you an idea of how many people die, there are estimates, only estimates. 4.5 million to 8 million people died during this 30 years war. And so he's writing during this particular time. He focuses on, so we have a few writers in this particular hymn. So you have Bernard of Clairvaux, possibly, who influenced Ernulf. We hear that a little bit even in Ernulf's story. And then you have Paul Gerhardt, who comes along and looks at these writings to develop this particular hymn. I know you don't have this particular section in your book, but in this particular book, the historical summary, it goes into and describes some of the language that was used, and all the different translators and people that dealt with this particular hymn. It's astounding. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are probably about 15 people that are really attributed to helping this hymn be what it is and craft it for us today. So anything else? He's also teaching at the University of Wittenberg or Wittenberg. Why is that important? Who else taught there?
I was going to say, was he with Luther?
He was after Luther.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's where Luther taught. What other famous person in history went to Wittenberg University, but is fictional? So historical fictional character went to. This is a.
C.S. Lewis.
No, this is C.S. Lewis is a real person. This is a fictional person. The beginning of Hamlet. Hamlet returns from Wittenberg University to his castle. Kind of neat. So that's another thing that you'll never be asked, but it's kind of interesting nonetheless. All right. So we'll get into the Romanists and all that stuff. That's a different topic for a different day. Let's dive into the hymn and see what he's saying. Yes, Pastor.
One other thing about Paul Gerhardt. He wrote beautiful poetry. It just flows. It's so simple. And people in Charlie's generation, they grew up knowing a lot of those hymns by heart. And it's just poetry.
Yeah. So for those that couldn't hear, Pastor was saying how Gerhardt's poetry is just beautiful and it just flows. And people in Trouty's generation that grew up with it just knew it by heart because it was so well known in their country. All right. Shall we dive in? Verse number 1. We're going to look at it here and dive into some of the scriptures. This is one that actually has the scriptures down at the bottom. You see way down at the bottom, you'll notice Psalm 22, 6 through 8, Isaiah 53, verses 4 through 5, John 10, 14 and 15, 27 and 28, and then back to Hebrews 12, 2, which we studied a little bit last week. All right. The tune, as I said, is Hans Leo Hassler, and not a lot on him either. But if somebody wants to read the first verse to us, and then we'll dive into some of the scriptures. Please. Not all at once.
O sacred head, now wounded, with grief and shame weighed down, now scornfully surrounded, with thorns thine only crown. O sacred head, what glory, what bliss till now was thine, though despised and gory, thy joy to call thee mine.
All right. Thank you.
This is different.
Yeah, you probably have a different one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Like I
Google.
said, it's been retooled and
It's
tweaked
just
and
Google thing.
all sorts of stuff. All right, so what stands out in that particular verse for you? You in general. Thank you for reading that, by the way. Yes?
Jesus on the cross.
Jesus on the cross. Okay. Yeah. Being crucified with the thorns. Can you picture it? Does he draw you in? Yeah. Well, sacred head, now wounded. We know this because he's not only been beaten, but he's also received a crown. We know that it's all bloodied. With grief and shame weighed down, now scornfully surrounded, with crowns, thy only crown. What a beautiful image. The sacred head, what glory, what bliss till now was thine, yet though despised and gory. So it's not, it's beautiful, but it's gory. It marries this image for us. I joy to call thee mine. You're dying, and I joy to call you mine. That's wonderful. Let's also look at Psalm 22. Somebody could bring up Psalm 22. And again, we're looking specifically at verses 6 through 8.
But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by mankind and despised by the people. All who see me mock me. They make mouths at me. They wag their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him.
So how does Gerhardt bring that section out? Thank you for reading that section out to us in that first verse. Anyone? So how does he bring those verses out in the first verse? Scornfully surrounded. Yeah. Yeah. Yet despised. Despised. As we know, the Psalm 22, this is the very psalm that Jesus quotes from the cross. Beginning in verse 1, we hear, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you your fathers trusted, they trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were rescued. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm. So it's bridges on that. Right? He's already proclaimed, why are you not here? Everybody trusted in you. Here I am taking on essentially this sin. I'm taking on the weight of the world. It's grief and it's shame. Weighed down. Can you imagine the weight that Jesus felt? Sometimes we feel like we, are the euphemism or whatever it is, axiom, the weight of the world upon us. Can you imagine the weight of the world on Jesus' shoulders? Wow. And yet he died in our place. The food smells really good, by the way. All right, let's. Any more on verse 1? Next verse. Somebody want to read it? Yes, in the back.
How pale thou art with anguish, with sore abuse and scorn. How doth thy face now languish, that once was bright as morn? Grim death with cruel rigor hath robbed thee of thy life. Thus thou hast lost thy vigor, thy strength with this sad strife.
All right, so what stands out there? Anything? In verse 2 that stands out.
He's dying.
Yeah.
He's dying. Yes. He is dying. That rigor. In fact, that was a verse that got retooled a few times. Who has cruel rigor used to be grim death and cruel rigor. Bereft thee of thy life, hath robbed thee of thy life. And strength in this sad strife was thy strength in this sad strife. So there's a few things that got retooled to sing a little differently. Let's look at Isaiah 53. So Isaiah 53 verses 4 through 5. You got it? Oh, thank you.
It's on the hymn.
Yep. That's verse 5.
Surely he took up our infirmities and carried our sorrows, yet we considered him stricken by God, smitten by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed.
Yes, thank you. So, what do we see in that? Yeah, obviously the verse is right here. In Isaiah 53, what would stand out?
Sacrificing for us.
Sacrificing for us.
It seems like the hymn describes the condition that you're seeing, and Isaiah tells us how he got there.
Yeah. And with that, we hearken back to what they were doing. They were meditating upon that very passion, what it would look like. Maybe even what it would feel like in some cases. When they would sin, many of them would whip themselves so that they could feel the scourge of what Jesus felt. What other, just incidentally, since we're right here in Isaiah 53, what other hymn comes out of this section that you may have sung before? Happens to be my grandmother's favorite Lenten hymn. So I'll give you a clue with Lent. Yes. Stricken, smitten, and afflicted. Right? It's right there, which is pretty neat.
When one sees the word rigor, we don't use that very often, but it strikes rigor mortis, which is the state in death that somebody becomes very stiff. When you see a corpse, they're not fleshy, they're stony.
Yep. And what is that? Maybe an antonym of rigor that uses the same beginning. Rigorous, right? Fight. So there's kind of that antonym aspect. Thank you, Pastor, for bringing that up. All right. Our next section there, verse number 3. Volunteer. Thank you.
What thou, my Lord, hast suffered was all for sinners' gain. Mine was transgression, but thine the deadly pain. Lo, here I fall, my Savior, as I deserve thy place. Look on me with thy favor, and grant to me thy
grace.
Okay, thank you. What do we see in this one?
He's dying for our sins.
Yeah. We're seeing the transition of the focus and the why. So the what is happening, and the why it's happening, which is very, very cool. How many times do you, when you sing in church, if you really look at the words, yes, sometimes the tune is difficult. I have difficulty with some hymns. I'll look at it and be, wow, I don't know if I can sing this one. I can barely chant. It's sometimes difficult. But at the same time, if you stop and you think about the words and meditate upon the words and what the hymn writer is saying, it becomes a beautiful thing. And I do know, and I want to state this, there are a lot of great songs that are sung in the contemporary service that have great words. I'll be honest, I get lost in some of them, but the words are good. Likewise, I think some people get lost in these particular tunes, maybe because they didn't grow up in this environment, not just Lutheran, but some of the other traditional churches. And so there has to be kind of a mutual conversation and respect for both realms, so to speak, of contemporary and the traditional. But as you've heard me say before, I believe that all these hymns are contemporary because they still speak to the condition of today. I heard a band years ago at Concordia. I was working security. Bad idea to put students on security, by the way. Those are stories for a different day. But we were watching these bands get up and play, and it was like a very fast punk band. And they played like some of these hymns just faster. And I was like, well, I can actually enjoy that. But now that I've grown a little bit older and mellowed a little bit and had kids of my own, slowing things down sometimes, especially to be able to meditate on the hymn, has been such a beautiful thing. And then we can appreciate all the musicianship that's going into it, the gifts that God has given people to play the organ or the trumpet or trombone or the woodwinds or whatever it might be, to bring these songs forth to us. And we're going to begin hearing more of that again, by the way, in our church services as Mr. Lober and Deaconess Ketcher begin to bring some of that back until we find a musician to call. So keep that in your prayers that we do find the right person to come. Thank you.
Going back to the third verse, what that verse brings out is exactly what Isaiah brings out, is we, us, and him. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, and we have seen him stricken, smitten, afflicted. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. And upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace.
Yeah.
This contrast, it's all, our fault, but he's taking care of it.
Yeah, a good reflection there and emphasis. It was ours. He took it upon himself, and for that action, we have received the us in there, peace. This is a good one for today, especially in regards to Pastor's message this morning. For those that haven't heard, it's coming, but for those that have heard, verse number 4. Somebody could read it out loud, please. Otherwise, I will, for the sake of time.
My shepherd, now receive me, my guardian, hold me down.
Great blessings thou didst give me, O source of gifts divine. Thy lips have often fed me with words of truth and love. Thy spirit oft hath led me to heavenly joys above.
All right, thank you. Anything jump out in that one?
There's a peace.
A peace in this verse.
Not only we're not dealing with the suffering, but we're dealing with the result. And as a, you know, the picture of the shepherd comes in, and now our life, as a result, is full of truth and love, so to speak.
Yes. So now we, in a sense, benefit from Christ dying on the cross. We receive rest, we receive spirit, and now joy as well. For those that haven't heard yet, the gospel reading for today focuses on the lost sheep, the one lost sheep, and the lost coin. And in the end of each of those sections, there's great joy. And that's also followed by, which is not in the pericope this week, nor next week, but the prodigal son, which we know there is joy in the end of that one as well. Let's look at verses 14 through 15 of John 10. John 10, 14 through 15. I'll read it. I got it right here. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. So where do you see that here? It also couples, by the way, with 27 and 28. I'll read those very quickly. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. So how does that fit with verse 4? My shepherd now receive me. And what does a shepherd do with a sheep? Protects them. He guards them. He gives them great blessings, doesn't he?
Well, and of course, heaven.
Yeah. Of course, heaven. Which is one of those blessings. Those great blessings thou hast give me, O source of gifts divine. Not of the earth, but gifts divine. Thy lips have often fed me with words of truth and love. Right here. Truth and love. Thy spirit oft hath led me to heavenly joys above. It even has the third article of the creed there. What do I mean by that? The Spirit. So those learning the catechism still, the third article of the creed focuses on the Spirit and how we do not come to this life in Christ without Him. For the sake of time, verse 5.
What language shall I borrow to thank thee, dearest friend, for this thy dying sorrow, thy pity without end? O make me thine forever, and should I fainting be, Lord, let me never, never outlive my love for thee.
So what do you see in this one?
Giving thanks.
Giving thanks.
Giving thanks, but also supplication that I don't go astray again.
Yeah.
Get that.
Yeah, it bridges on the verses that we just read as well. Yes.
Also the language of love.
Language of love, yes. Is love important in the Christian life? Why so?
Because God is love.
God is love, right? Which is why we can say from Corinthians that love never fails. Why does love never fail? Because, again, God is love. And He's called us to love one another as we would ourselves. very hard to do, as I've mentioned in sermons and in Bible studies, to look in the mirror and say, I love you. That's why we go back to Paul again, and that whole section of, then may I be fully known, just as you know me. Because we don't know ourselves as much as God knows us already. You think you do. You think you know yourself. But God knows you even more deeply and loves you even more deeply than you could ever imagine. Let's look at that next verse, verse 6.
My Savior, be thou near me, when death is at my door. Then let thy presence cheer me, forsake me nevermore. When soul and body languish, O leave me not alone, but take away mine anguish by virtue of thine own.
Thank you. Thank you. So what do we see in this one? Look at 1 Corinthians 15. Doesn't say it down at the bottom, but again, we have a little bit more scholarship in this. So 15 verses 12 through 20 talks about the resurrection from the dead. And that's where we're at. My Savior, thou near me, when death is at my door. When is death at your door? Every day.
I was gonna say every day.
Every day. As bleak as it sounds, it's there. We never know when we're going to be called home. And we never know what is going to tempt us and where Satan's going to try to lurk. But he's there. And death is around us. Death surrounds us. I'm like a sheep being led to the slaughter, right? Every day. And we hear that in Romans chapter 8. Forsake me nevermore. Going back to my God, why have you forsaken me? Forsake me nevermore. And we're able to not be forsaken because we have Christ. When soul and body languish, oh, leave me not alone. Are we ever alone? No. Where does that promise come? Well, in many places, but yeah, I will never leave you nor forsake you. This is also Ezekiel 34 being accomplished. We also hear that he's always with us in Psalm 139. Even to the depths of Sheol I go, and yet you are there. It's pretty cool stuff. And Matthew 28, probably the one that everybody remembers. And lo, I will be with you.
Always.
It says always
End
there?
of the age.
It doesn't say just this moment or next week. I'll get back to you. Always. Pretty cool stuff.
Reap there all the days.
To the end of the
Yeah.
age.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. He is there always when each sand falls through that hourglass.
Missed the first part.
Yeah, he got it back.
I missed the first.
We try. Be thou consolation, my shield when I must die. Remind me of thy passion. This is what it's about, thy passion. This is what he's focused upon. When my last hour draws nigh, mine eyes shall then behold thee. Upon thy cross shall dwell. My heart, my faith enfold me. Who dieth thus dies well. Wow. What is he doing there? He is bringing us to the cross to die with Jesus on the cross. Not as one of the prisoners, thieves next door to him, but with Jesus. That's cool, isn't it? We're going to sing this in a moment, but I can't leave you on a downer. And by the way, I love lawyers and I love bankers. I'll say that. But it reminds me of an old joke where the pastor was dying. He was at his death's bed. And he asked his wife to call the lawyer and and the banker of the town, small town. And so they reluctantly came over, and she welcomed them, offered them tea and everything. And they said, no, we're quite busy today, but we know that your husband wanted to see us. And she said, yes, he's quite ill. He's at that time when he's going to die. And so they go up there, and she brings him into the room, chair on each side. And he's there, and it's been probably 10, 15 minutes, just silence. And finally, the banker says, you know, Pastor, why have you asked for us today? You didn't have much to do with us when you were well. Why now when you are sick and almost at death's door? And some silence fell across the room, and finally he took a deep breath, the pastor did. And he began to say, you know, Jesus died between two thieves. I figured I'd go out the same way. Why don't we sing O Sacred Head Now Wounded? I'm going to play the tune that
This is
Hans
TLH.
Leo Hassler put forth for us.
TLH.
By the way, just a quick thing on him. He was also living in the 1500s into the 1600s. And he is the one that wrote this particular tune.
long as they haven't
There's
changed
a
it
little
from
out there on
TLH
him,
to
but
the
not a
new
lot.
Yeah. That's probably what this is.
Mainly in Nuremberg.
'Cause they
All right,
have
I'll play it
6
once, and then
verses.
if we'll sing the whole
I
thing
got-
together.
I got 10. How many
Oh,
verses do you
yeah.
have?
Yeah, there's 10.
O sacred head now wounded, with grief and shame weighed down, now scornfully surrounded, with thorns thine only crown. O sacred head, what glory, what bliss till now was thine. Yet thou despised in glory, I joy to call thee mine. How pale thou art with anguish, with sore abuse and scorn. How doth thy face now languish, that once was bright as morn? Grim death with cruel rigor hath robbed thee of thy life. Thus thou hast lost thy vigor, thy strength in this sad strife. What thou, my Lord, hast suffered was all for sinners' gain. Thy mind was of transgression, but thine the deadly pain. Thy lips for my Savior, 'tis I deserve thy place. Look on me with thy favor, and grant to me thy
life. Thy lips have often fed me with words of truth and love. Thy Spirit oft hath led me to heavenly joys above. What language shall I borrow to thank thee, dearest friend, for this thy dying sorrow? I pity without end. Oh, make me thine forever, and should I fainting be, Lord, let me never, never outlive my love for thee. My Savior, be thou near me when death is at my door. Then let thy presence cheer me. Forsake me nevermore. When soul and body languish, oh, leave me not alone, but take away mine anguish by virtue of thine own. Be thou my consolation, my shield when I must die. Remind me of thy passion when my last hour draws nigh. Mine eyes shall then behold thee, upon thy cross shall dwell. My heart by faith enfold me, who diet dost die well.
Thank you, my friends. It's beautiful how it ends on an E and begins on an E. It's like our chanting. It ends, your part ends on the note that the pastor picks up. Designed that way. Plus 7 verses. Perfection. Yes, Pastor. Closing note.
You notice this Lutheran hymn, like many other Lutheran hymns, is slow and deliberate. So we ponder the word.
Yes, indeed. Slow and deliberate, so we ponder the words. Beautiful. Thank you. Now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Take care. Thank you for coming. Next week, we praise and acknowledge you if we study.
Thank you, Father O'Malley.